I'm one of those guys with the cigarettes hanging out of their mouth flying down the streets of the Isle of Man. Hi, I'm Dylan from Throttle Company. Here I am in the shop. So I'm getting ready to do another episode of In the Loop, where we take a bike from Throttle Company and take it around our test track. So let's go find one to do that. Got a lot of options here today, a lot of customer bikes. I guess we could take one of those, but some of them need work done. Let's see. I think what we should do is this one right here. So what we're looking at is a 1990 Honda GB500. It's a 500 single. GB stands for Great Britain. It's an homage to the British racing bikes of the 50s and 60s. So this is a vintage bike. It's carbureted. Usually takes a minute to warm up. So we're inside the shop here, and this is a loud bike. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. Let's see what happens when we start it up. I tried to tell you it was loud. Alright, so I've got the choke on. This bike in particular kind of takes a bit of finagling the choke. Slowly turning it off as you get warmed up. So the reason this is so much louder than most bikes, or than your standard GB500, which is actually a very quiet bike, it's got a thump noise to it. This is a single cylinder, like I said, and those are known as thumpers. And this one has a Jack Batson exhaust, which is a guy who races GB500s in California, and he makes these exhausts special. They're stainless. I try to turn up the idle a little bit there. Like I said, they take some finagling when they're, especially it's cold. It's November 29th here in Columbus, Ohio, and we've got a nice, I don't know, almost 50-degree day. So I thought I'd take advantage here. I got the choke all the way off. We'll see if we can make this light. So this bike is a very rare bike these days. Came out in 89 and 90, and it was way ahead of its time. So it was, like I said, an homage to the old original kind of cafe racers, Isle of Man TT single cylinder race bikes. I'm gonna stop here. Probably gonna kill the engine. Yep. All right, got her started back up there. So anyway, this was an homage to the early. I'll put them up on the screen here, but like an AJS, a Matchless, Velocette Thruxton. I've seen one of these literally sitting next to a 1966 Velocette Thruxton. They're very similar motorcycles. I'll try to find one of those and put it up there. But they came out, like I said, in 89 and 90 here in America, and they did not sell very well. I think they were literally just ahead of their time, because nowadays, you know, Ducati has a cafe racer. We sell the Royal Enfields. They have a GT 650, which is a very similar bike to this in styling. And cafe racers, you know, caught on their 2000s, and up until today, they're big. They're very popular. If we have custom cafe racers in the shop, that's what everybody wants to come in and see and talk about. And anyway, Honda was just ahead of their time. Nobody wanted them in 1989 and 90, and they did not sell well. So, you know, that's one of the perfect recipes for a limited edition bike in the future. is something that they didn't make a lot of, and it was not popular at the time. So then years later, they're just impossible to find. This one we happened to buy at auction, and I've seen a lot of them with 0 miles on them go for up to $20,000, and they're very popular in Europe, even though they didn't come out in Europe. They came out in America. They sold so poorly that a German importer took a bunch of them back to Europe, to Germany, and so there's kind of a cult following there, and they're obviously British styling. The GB, like I said earlier, means Great Britain, and the British love these bikes. So there are some cool Facebook groups and online communities of people, and a lot of them are in England and Australia. So anyway, it's a sporty bike. It's a single cylinder 500. You got the thump, you hear the loud brappy farty noise. But I got kind of rearward pegs. You can see my hand controls. They're basically clip-on handlebars. So I'm sporty here. I'm crouched over a little bit, certainly more than most motorcycles that we have. Not as much as like a modern sport bike, like Nicole calls them ninja bikes, but like a Gixxer, a GSXR, a Ninja, a CBR, those kind of modern sport bikes, the BMW 1000s, things like that. You could tell by me listing those off, I don't actually know those bikes very well. I know them okay. So anyway, 500 single means we've got torque. This is actually based on a dirt bike engine. It's the XR600 engine. And I know what you're thinking, 600, that doesn't equal 500. Well, they sleeve it down. I don't know why. I think because the originals were 500 singles. The original cafe racer bikes that they were going after in terms of style and feeling. I'm going to turn off here because I don't want to be behind this guy. And so this is the XR600 engine, which I guess I could put one up on the screen, but they're a dirt bike. Some of them are they have a more enduro feel, which is on-road, off-road, but for the most part, this is a dirt bike engine, and dirt bikes want torque. They want low end, they want to climb things, they want to slowly go up a hill or, you know, out of the mud, that kind of thing. So you need low end torque for that. So this engine still has that kind of low end grunt, which makes it fun. It makes it very fun around town. I said this in another video, maybe talking about the Himalayan, which is a single. And singles tend to have that torque. And this one you can kind of see if you pay attention to the tachometer there on the right. Pay attention to my RPMs and my speed. I'll get into it. When I get to about 5,000 is when it really just kicks. I'm not sure if that's obvious on video, but it's got a bit of a pull in those higher RPMs. That's when we're really getting into the power of this bike. It's got a rear drum brake, but a front disc, I say, as we get into that corner there. But because of that power band up there higher, and the low end torque and everything, when you're riding around, it makes it a very fun bike. It's a fun bike to feel sporty, to feel like you're going fast, but you're not actually going that fast. So it's safe. It's not as fast as a modern sport bike. It doesn't really feel like a modern sport bike in those ways. It feels old. It feels like a vintage road racer. Like I'm one of those guys with the cigarettes hanging out of their mouth flying down the streets of the Isle of Man. But because of that base engine, the XR600, you're talking about a very bulletproof platform. It's meant for off-road. It's a single cylinder. It's simple. The real appeal of single cylinders is the simplicity. You have a one carburetor. This bike in particular, because of performance stuff, and those bikes at that time are actually 2 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves on the same single cylinder. You're just trying to get more air through the engine. It's just a performance thing. But you're talking about a very simple engine design. You've got one piston. It's either firing or it isn't. It's not a lot. You don't have to tune carburetors to each other. You don't have to make sure everything's in sync and running the same. It's just a simple bike, and that's, I'm sure, why they were racing them way back when, because they needed them bikes weren't as reliable overall, and they needed them to complete the race, you know? So, anyway, I've got my favorite grips, which are these built well. They either call them the Renegade or the Recoil. They're a little barrel shaped, which I really like. I really like that on this bike. You are on your wrists a little bit more, as you're going to be on any kind of sportier bike where the controls are back, the foot controls are backwards more, and your handlebars are lower. So I think the grips are more important on this bike than they're going to be on a lot of bikes. You know, some people, I mean, obviously personal preference and everything, but you spend a lot of time with your weight on your hands on this bike, and having the right grips are important. So we put these grips on there. I think it makes a big difference in comfort and control, really. I mean, these are awesome grips, and they're not expensive. They're about 20 bucks. The hardest thing is putting them on. They're not easy. Not these ones are any harder than any other grips, but putting your grips on and off, it can get frustrating. Well, anyway, what it's like to ride this, hopefully that comes across a little bit, but it's sporty, it's fun. The brappy noise makes you feel like a real hooligan, like a real, you know, vintage racer. Even though I'm not flying by traffic right now. You know, I'm keeping up with the cars in front of me, and that really is what it comes down to with this motorcycle. You know, there are classes that would include this motorcycle in racing, and I'm sure you'd have a real fun time buying this bike, and or a bike like this and racing it. At, you know, the track days and the amateur, everybody can get on the track kind of stuff. But you're not gonna beat your friends on a modern 600 or anything. It just does not have that speed, if that's what you're expecting. But it is very fun. It's about as fun as it gets, and the looks are perfect. It just looks exactly like a cafe racer. You can see as we pass the GT. The modern Royal Enfield GT, they have some similarities in how they look, the proportions, the gas tank. I'm not sure if you can actually see it here. It's a little dusty. Maybe I should have dusted it off for this video. But this bike has kind of a cool paint. It looks black from far away, but it's actually green, very, very dark green, metallic. And I'm going to turn this idle down because we finally warmed up on that ride. But here we are back at Throttle. I really appreciate anyone watching this video. You can obviously contact us here at Throttle Company if you're interested in learning about more on this video, or put something in the comments. We're happy to talk about this motorcycle, any of these motorcycles in here. Really, that's what I do all day long, is talk about motorcycles and fix them. Here are some of the ones in the shop for being worked on, but I love it. So happy to answer any questions or get into discussion or talk about why this is a great bike, or maybe you have an opinion on it and you think there's something out there that's better. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll hope to see you again in another video.